Our speaker this morning is Mac Sims. Mac is a four-year boarding student from Denver, Colorado. He is president of the SGA and the proud roommate of Max Elmore. Mac?
There are about 6 million individual parts that go into making a standard Boeing 747. There are more nuts, bolts, metal spars, ribs, stringers, and structural components, all accounted for, that make up a singular plane than there are people in 96 of the world's sovereign entities. Just to give you another idea, if you were to count each individual part out loud, nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would take you over 7 years to count them all. It's truly a remarkable feat of engineering that such a complex machine can be built and flown safely. While many might see the intricate beauty that goes into building these vessels, for me, that's 6 million little opportunities for something to go wrong. A countless number of ways for the plane to shake and rattle, making you question whether you'll ever make it to your destination. Despite the intricate and meticulous processes that go into creating these big birds, for a large part of my life, I couldn't help but be absolutely petrified. And to be quite honest, I still am. I hate flying, plain and simple. My fear is not logical. It's not based on any rational evidence. It's just a feeling, a worry that something could go wrong. So, Alex Murray, sorry, but if I ever see you in the cockpit, buddy, I'm sprinting in the other direction. Despite all metrics of safety statistics and all chains of sensible knowledge pointing towards the fact that commercial flight is one of the most safe forms of transportation, on every flight you go on, you always come face to face with the essence of trust. You have no control over the flight, no influence over the outcome. All you can do is trust the system, trust the competence of the pilots, the diligence of the crew, and the meticulous maintenance of the aircraft. You place your faith in the expertise of countless individuals who have dedicated their lives to ensuring your safe passage. You also have to trust that each and every one of the 6 million nuts, bolts, and screws have been tightened. Every system has been checked and double-checked, and every contingency plan has been put in place. Ultimately, it's a scary thought putting your trust in a system that you don't fully understand, a system of which there's more than an infinite number of possibilities to go wrong, all of which you simply can't conceive. But nonetheless, that's what we do. Much like a plane, Hill is a system. It's a set of interconnected components that work together to achieve a common goal. Teachers educating us, the deans keeping us in line, Sodexo feeding us, security keeping us safe, Joey doing whatever Joey does, your co-presidents for sorry guys, but Steph and I are just downright dope, and all other community members who foster an environment for us, the students, to succeed. In the end, these members leverage their positions within this system to provide us with the proper education, life skills, and necessary knowledge we need to excel in the next step of our lives and beyond. But that's merely the outcome. Hill is far from A to B. And just like flying, I feared it. My third form year, I feared Hill. Having come from a family with no real background in boarding schools and really not taking much interest in the matter until my summer going into 8th grade, the system was a foreign concept to me. Despite everything I saw on my revisit day, everything that was explained by each student I spoke to, and every level of research I conducted on my own, I still couldn't make sense of it. I recognized and understood every single metric of the values Hill upheld, knowing that they reflected my own, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Soon enough, that first day of school came. While still experiencing a heavy wax of emotions, I accepted the reality that the first few days were bound to be a frightening experience for nearly everyone. So I saw it through. I put my head down and trusted the process. I made extra efforts to reach out and make friends, studied harder than I ever had in middle school, and dedicated more time and focus to my athletics than I had ever done before. Days of this extra effort turned to weeks, and as weeks turned to months, it only became more intense. I spent every fiber of my being trying to make myself compatible with Hill. But the harder I tried, the more effort I put into conquering this fear, the further I seemed to grow away from my goal. This made me question myself, my purpose. Am I doing enough? Am I presenting myself appropriately? Am I rehabbing my knee as much as I should? Am I performing as well as I should at practice? Do people even like me? Am I even supposed to be here? Questioning myself, I feared, and I feared until eventually I hated. This place became insufferable to me. The pressure to succeed, the fear of failure, and the uncertainty of what lied ahead was overwhelming. These fears, uncertainties, and distrust only served as a vessel for me to hate. I began to hate my morning walks to breakfast. I began to hate the way I chose to dress myself. I began to hate chapel, seated meals, each and every single class I had to take, and everything about Hill. After going through the motions and barely surviving through the winter term, I couldn't help but be absolutely relieved when confronted with the reality of not returning back to Hill for the rest of the year. Quarantine took away the very system I had grown to despise. For those first few weeks, I did, just as everyone else did, absolutely nothing. I spent time with my family, binge Breaking Bad, and finally got disgustingly good at Fortnite. I adjusted to my new life, and as quarantine continued, this routine began to solidify itself as a system of its own. However, this time, I had trust. I became the pilot, and I expected to find comfort in that. But it just wasn't right. As the weeks went on, I only found myself becoming more miserable with my situation. I was the master of my own voyage, but didn't know where I was going. It was in that absence that I realized the true value of the system that had shaped me. While I never saw for it to be for the better, it had been the guiding force in my life. It was really difficult for me to write this talk. Well, in part, it was due to the fact that I had started it like a little less than a week ago. I couldn't really reconcile the fact that I was chosen to be the final voice heard in this chapel for us sixth formers. One last final message spread within these walls. So I leave you with two final thoughts. For the underformers out there, if you find yourself uncomfortable or worrying too often in the system, just as I did, my parting words are, trust it. Trust Hill, just as we did. It takes an unbelievable strength of character to unconditionally love anything. While love itself isn't necessarily the hard part, doing so under any circumstance forever will be. Accepting things for who they are, flaws and all, and choosing to love them anyway. So rather than fearing, hating, rejecting, choose to love Hill for all that it gives us and all that it doesn't. Love Hill for family night, despite having significantly less time to yourself on Tuesday. Love Hill for demerits and love being able to use them. You'll never have the chance to spend away discipline like that again. Love Hill for, well, the hill. Treasure the struggle of that walk from the CFTA to the quad. Your calves would thank you. Love Hill for J-ball. And I'm sorry to get controversial up here, but despite your continued efforts, you will never be able to experience getting beaten by a team as good as Captain Dad's Banana Boat ever again. And ultimately, love Hill for giving you the most precious memories that you'll never be able to relive again. Embrace the system before you, knowing that it will carry you through the ups and downs, the triumphs and tribulations. Trust that the process, however daunting, will lead you to a destination that's worth cherishing. Sixth formers, as we arrive at this destination, there are so many things racing through my mind when coming up with something that captures the essence of our journey here at Hill. For us, the bowling social, our virtual classes together, the rafting trip, our sleepless night together at the retreat, and even simple things like spending our entire study halls in the stew. They all make so much sense to talk about. Well, part of me wants to focus on that and reflect on the past 4 unforgettable years we've endured here together. I can't help but think about the next 8 days, the last 8 days. Just sit there for a second and think about that. In that time, it feels like there's nothing but ending. The end of chapel. Soon enough, the end of weekends at Hill. Then on to the end of our classes. And then, for many of us, the end of getting to see the faces of all the incredible friends, teachers, dorm parents, and advisors who've transformed our lives daily over the past 4 years. So as we confront ourselves with the sadness of leaving so many things behind, I leave you with a quote from the well-known poet, Bachelor of the English language, and Mr. Solo Dolo himself, Kid Cudi. Don't let the sadness from the past and the fear of the future ruin the happiness of the present. Don't fear. Don't be sad. Embrace. Embrace your last seated lunch. Embrace your last class in the academic center. Embrace the last time you get to experience a sleep-in. Embrace the very last time you get to put on your sixth form blazer. Embrace the faculty, Mr. Yinger, Mr. Baum, thank you. Embrace your advisors, Mr. Canosa, you're the man. And finally, embrace not allowing fear to make you underappreciate the laughs you will experience in this community. Appreciate every single tear you shed over this place, but be proud of the fact that if something has the power to make you feel this upset, it once had the power to make you feel an even greater sense of joy. As we embark on this new journey, let us carry with us the lessons of trust we have learned. Let us trust in our dreams and our abilities, and in the system we approach in the next chapter of our lives. So if you're still wondering, I still fear Hill. I still fear that fifth demerit. Still fear my performance at practice. I still fear whether or not I'll break the record for number of consecutive wipeouts in JV hockey games. I still fear having a voice crack in front of each and every one of you every single day. And yes, I still fear flying. But these fears, they don't define me. I don't allow them to. Our experiences at Hill, whether good or bad, do not solely determine our future success or failure. It's up to us to take control of our own lives and use the opportunities presented to us to grow and learn. Take the wheel and use Hill as your GPS. Count and consider the 6 million threads, nuts, and bolts that make up the system of your own life, and never lose sight of them. Don't let inexplicable, nonsensical, and downright dumb fears restrict you from appreciating the goodness that permeates every moment. Instead, use them. Allow them to carry you forward, and hold on to the knowledge that even through the good and the bad, the outcome will be something to cherish. Fly through the turbulence and never make it lose sight of your destination. Thank you for everything, Hill.